Listen, it's been one of those years for the NFL. They really have not been able to get out of their own way right from the get-go. Whether it's kneeling, whether it's, players not respecting the American flag, which turned off a lot of people. Trump then gets his big beak in the way, which makes it worse. Whether it's the plethora of injuries that has marred them all year long, cover of Sports Illustrated, everybody banged up. Week 4 was a mess. Obviously, no quarterbacks with fellas like Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson throwing Carson Wentz. That's been a disaster. People turned off by a variety of antics, throwing the idea that you can't figure out what's a catch, what's not a catch. It has really been one of the Jerry Richardson scenario, Ezekiel Elliott and Jerry Jones, Goodell's contract. I mean, you go through a million things. I mean, it has been just an absolute bloodbath for the National Football League here in 2017, and they need some goodwill. In the absolute worst way, they need some breaks to get people on the right path, get them talking football this time of the year, get them away from the issues off the field. I shouldn't say I have no interest, but I am not wrapped up in reading anything about Jerry Richardson. I've been burned out, and I'm not trying to downplay it, but I have been burned out by sexual harassment charges and everything else with whether it's actors, TV hosts, movie producers, or now, and obviously now you're talking owners. I am not reading a word. So I can't get into that. I don't care when the NFL knew about this, when they didn't know about this. I have no interest. We all know that the quarterback play has been obviously amputated all season long with everybody being banged up. And a lot of big stars going down. The latest, of course, being Wentz. The football giants being in the embarrassment that they were. The Bears being the embarrassment that they were. 2 legendary franchises. I mean, it's been really one of these years. And then, of course, if you read SI last week with the list of injuries, which they put on their cover and then wrote about 10 pages on, the moaning and groaning about Thursday night. I mean, it just doesn't end. It's been that kind of year for the National Football League. And then, of course, their great game, which had a very good rating, best rating of the year, which you'd expect, the Pittsburgh-New England game on Sunday afternoon. That game, you spent basically 12 hours yesterday not talking about the game itself, although I tried to get into it, the actual Pittsburgh scenario and play calling and what defense they played and Gronkowski. You got into, whether Tony Corrente in a league office had ruled properly what is a catch and what isn't a catch. So it's been that kind of season. And now you have something else that is going to be more on the field, but it's looming, and it's going to be a major issue here. And I think you've really seen it in the 2 games over the weekend. The one was Saturday night when San Diego, at quote-unquote L.A., basically fizzled in the last, 19 minutes of the game and really fell apart and got knocked out. And then you throw in last night where Atlanta, hung on for dear life. Winston played well, beat the Bucks to put themselves in good playoff positioning. There is nothing that I have for you right now that constitutes an old-fashioned, quote-unquote pennant race where you're going to have a riveting Week 16, Week 17, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. I got nothing for you. I mean, it was just, I wish I had some drama. I don't have any. So in a year in which you have absolutely all these issues that have really kind of swallowed up and overwhelmed the NFL, and they need some good storylines on the field to carry them through their last stages of their regular year and then get them ready for a good postseason. And they might have a good postseason, especially in the NFC. You're not going to have a good conclusion to what has been a marred-filled year here in this particular edition, because now that you have Atlanta knocking out Green Bay, which knocks out a Saturday night NBC game with the Vikings visiting Lambeau. You have something, obviously, with the Chargers losing, which obviously killed the AFC West. I don't know what you got. I mean, Atlanta last night was not great by any stretch of the imagination. Matt Ryan has not had a great year. Without any exaggeration, he's been off, not as sharp, missing open receivers. A lot of drops, too, by the Atlanta wide receivers, but that team has not been as sharp as they were, and they were ready to be picked off last night. night, and if Tampa had recovered to 3 fumbles, 1 they had, 2 that they forced, in any of those sequences, it would have been a breath of fresh air for the National Football League. As you know, down deep, they were rooting hard for an upset to keep everybody in the mix in the NFC as far as down the stretch is concerned. Because now with Atlanta knocking off Tampa, all they got to do is get a split in their next 2 games, which they should get against a disinterested Carolina team in the Week 17. I mean, I don't know what you got. I mean, we all know right now Philly and Minnesota are going to fight for the 1 and 2 seeds. All right, Case Keenum and Nick Foles will go crazy. You figure now when you look at it that the Rams, who in a big marquee game won 42-7 on Sunday in Seattle. You figure the Rams with 2 weeks to go, needing just a split to get the 3 seed. All right, they're in good shape. The Saints, who have Atlanta at home, and then at Tampa, I mean, they're going to win a game, probably both, to get themselves the division and put themselves in a 4th seed scenario, maybe higher if the Rams stumble. Not any higher than Minnesota. They won't get a bye. And then, of course, you have the 5th seed coming out of the NFC South, and now you have the 6th seed pretty much sewn up with Atlanta. In the AFC, you're in the same boat because number 1 is going to be New England, even though they still have to beat Buffalo and the Jets, if they will. 2 is Pittsburgh, and do you like your Christmas Day fare with Pittsburgh at Houston? And, of course, followed up by the Oakland Eagle game? Yeah, how you feeling on Christmas Day watching that? That's Snorefest. You ready to go? After you see Colts and Ravens and Minnesota play Brett Hundley on quarterback Saturday night in Green Bay. I mean, there is nothing going on in the AFC with Pittsburgh as the 2. That Kansas City, if they beat Miami, is guaranteed to 4. So you're set there. It looks like Jacksonville has already clinched the playoff spot. 1 more win than they get, or a Tennessee loss, and most likely, they would. Well, they haven't clinched the 3 yet, but they have obviously put themselves as really clinching a home game if they win 1, or if Jackson or Tennessee loses 1. Baltimore's got to beat the Colts and the Bengals who haven't shown up all year, and the Indianapolis with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback have 2 home games. Colts win both of those at the 5 seed, and then your great battle in the AFC for the 6th seed is who gets the 9: Buffalo, San Diego, or LA, or the Titans. I mean, that's all you got. I mean, there is nothing going on in the National Football League. I wish I could find you some games. I mean, if you think I'm being a little harsh, well, I'll go through it for you here, and I'll go through the TV games, if nothing else, the last 2 weeks of the season, and you find me something. Remember, if Atlanta beats the Falcons after they won last night, 1 o'clock on Sunday, that eliminates Dallas, and that eliminates Seattle from making the playoffs because obviously Atlanta beat both those teams. So you can forget the 4:30 game, and if you want to root for agony for Steve Torrey and Bill Lekis on the Sunday drive, that's what you root for. And Atlanta win at 1, and then let Steve and Bill chew on Fantasy Focus with Giants Arizona, Seattle, and meaningless Dallas with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman trying to make it interesting, and then Jacksonville at San Francisco at 4:30. I mean, that is death for the NFL. I mean, they got nothing going on. I mean, last night, listen, as I said, Atlanta was beatable. And, Tampa, all banged up, was competitive. I mean, they played well. The quarterback did a nice job. They had a chance there at the end. Kid missed a 54-yard field goal. But like most things in the National Football League in 2017, almost is not quite good enough. They almost got through the Neal thing, and then, of course, Trump had to say something. They almost got through and got a couple of quarterbacks back and healthy to go, but luck fell apart. Rodgers came back for 1 game and was rusty, and they lose. I mean, that doesn't work out. Deshaun Watson's just about to blossom and really show us what he's made of, and he tears his ACL. I mean, and on and on and on and on and on. This doesn't stop. Now, Richardson's out of there. They got the $40 million, $50 million for Goodell, and then, of course, we get Ezekiel Elliott to get a chance after this 6-game suspension to return. And by the time he shows up on the field, Christmas Eve at 4:30 in Dallas, 3:30 local time, Cowboys might be out of the playoffs. I mean, it's on and on and on we go as far as the NFL is concerned. To quickly summarize, if Atlanta gets 1 game here, and remember, Carolina is not going to need Week 17 because, if the Saints win this week, and they will clinch a playoff spot, and if Carolina beats Tampa this week. They'll clinch a playoff spot. And obviously, New Orleans has the tiebreaker over the Panthers, which means they'd have to lose their last game of the year for Carolina to have a chance to win the division. And their last game is playing the Buccaneers in the Bay Area. They're going to win that game if they have to. So when you get right down to it, Carolina's got a good opportunity to walk into Atlanta on New Year's Eve saying, you know what? We'll play our backup. We don't care. Nobody's playing in this game. No Kuechly, no Olsen, no McCaffrey. Everybody gets a blow. I don't care what the final is. We'll see you next week in New Orleans for round one of the playoffs, and Atlanta walks in. It is so bad in the National Football League right now, and I know that they're going through this at 30 Rock. Find me a game at night on New Year's Eve. Go ahead. Before we get ready for Alabama and Clemson and the Georgia-Oklahoma game. Find me a game at night on New Year's Eve. Find me one. I'm begging you. Find me one. What, Brown Steelers? Go find me a game that you can put on for our good buddies Al and Collinsworth after they freeze their asses off in Green Bay on 6-degree weather on Saturday night. Find me a game the next Sunday that Al can get himself pumped up for when he gets ready to do a playoff-type ball game and a knockout game at 8:30 at night. What game do I want? Jets Patriots for home field? Give me a game. I mean, that's the game they might show you because of the fact that Pittsburgh would beat Cleveland. The Patriots might get a chance to have to win that game to clinch the top seed in the AFC. But there is nothing they got. Nothing. It's that bad in the National Football League. It's that bad. Now, listen. Goff's an interesting story of the Rams. Minnesota has a chance, obviously, maybe even is sort of quote-unquote hosting the Super Bowl. You know, New Orleans has got Breeze. Carolina's respectable. Got 5 or 6 teams in the NFC who have a chance to win 11 games. The Eagles have already done so. So has Minnesota. Saints are going to win another one. Carolina's going to win another one. That's 4. That's a lot. That's 5. And the 5th team is Minnesota, the Eagles, the Rams, Carolina and New Orleans. You got 5 teams in the NFC who got a chance to win 11 games. I don't know when the last time that has occurred. So you got a chance for a good NFC postseason in 2017. AFC, Jacksonville will be interesting to keep an eye on with their great defense, but chances are it's Steelers and Patriots the second to last Sunday in Foxborough in January. Roger Goodell can't have this all season come fast enough. That kind of year. 16 after the hour.